Welcome to Sigma Eurasia Dubai. I'm Kavata Mercygrace, and I'm pleasured to be joined by Lucy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you here. So, what motivated you to become an investor, and what do you enjoy most about the job?
So it was actually a very smart female founder that first set aside shares of her company to specifically tap women investors. And that was because her business model was all about targeting women. And so initially, when someone said, "Come and be an investor," I was like, "Oh, I know nothing about investing," and But now my whole focus is on we all start from zero, but then you start writing small tickets, and then you write bigger tickets, and then hopefully eventually you might become a limited partner or even a general partner in a fund. So we all need to start somewhere. And the most important thing, and what I value the most, is obviously helping someone, a founder, realize their dreams. There's nothing more fulfilling than that.
What challenges do you go through as a female investor?
I'm not sure that I have a lot of challenges because, especially in the MENA region, the challenges for the female founders, really. But I'll talk as an investor what the challenges might be, and that is that we actually there's not enough money going into startups. So what happens is I'm an early stage investor, so I'm an angel investor typically. I'm an LP in other funds and so forth, but let's talk about angel investing. So I've already helped with the initial startup capital. Then what happens later on is that part of my job, if I'm a good, smart investor, is I help companies then continue to get further funding, and that is the harder part, I think, because we lack funding at all stages of the company. We lack startup capital, but we certainly lack follow-on capital also.
Talking of startups, how do you go about identifying promising startups to invest in? And what factors do you consider most important?
So when I'm an LP, it's pretty passive, and so I leave it to the general partners to shortlist and determine what the makeup of the portfolio is. So it's pretty hands-on when I'm an LP. When I'm part of an active angel investment group, for instance, I was there's one that I'm part of now, where all the where the deal flow comes from something called the global fundraising stage. So that's also fairly easy. Of course, it's not easy to go through so many thousands of submissions and then shortlist, but that's not my job. My job comes in when the 100 that have been shortlisted then do their pitches on the stage, and we shortlist from there. So, I honestly don't think it's really difficult to find good companies that are investable, especially not in the MENA region. There's so many of them.
Great. So, what do you believe are the biggest risks associated with investing, and how do you manage the risks?
Sure. The biggest risk, especially when we invest at early stage, is that you lose all your money. And so this is something that, especially when we want to have more people become angels, they need to understand that when we invest at the early stage, that is called the chasm of death, and that's because that's when most companies fail. Okay, so that's the biggest risk. And then in terms of how we manage it is ideally having a diversified portfolio. So when you're an angel fund, you should have a portfolio of at least 10 companies, because typically at least maybe 80% of them fail, and you're hoping for just one home run.
So, what support do you offer beyond just funding?
So we talk a lot about, I'm very involved in the World Business Angels Investment Forum, And what we advocate for, and this is a platform that is part of the G20 Partnership for Financial Inclusion. So we believe that entrepreneurs are the bedrock of every economy. There's over 100 representatives, or countries rather, represented in this organization. So if we believe that they're the bedrock of every economy, what we're doing is providing smart finance. So everybody can provide money. What we're doing is we're providing everything else, mentoring, opening doors, introductions to other partners, introduction to, as I said earlier on, further financing went down the road. So more than just the money. It needs to be everything to do with the investor. So we always say to founders, don't just choose the first person that says they'll give you money. You have to also do your research on the person giving you money and what more value can they add.
I understand that you're also an author, and in the investment world, it's really broad. So, how are you able to balance the two?
Yeah, well, so I will tell you my secret. The easiest way to write a book is to have subject matter experts from around the world write the chapters. So my book, Changing the Game,
Okay.
how I did that was essentially it's a sector that everyone should be focusing on, right? Gaming and esports. But I realized that most people, if they didn't have some linkage to it, didn't really understand it. And so I went out and tapped 38 amazing individuals. They cover 5 continents, huge different demographic and ethnicity, and they each wrote a chapter. So in the book, there's sections on women in esports, investing in gaming, education in gaming, and so forth. So that was how I was able to manage my time. And most of it was done also during COVID when people had the time to write a chapter for me.
Great. It's interesting how we are embracing the women in esports. So, what are the biggest challenges that women are facing, women who are in esports?
Yes. So I think, unfortunately, esports is like every other sector in the world, or we still lack the representation in terms of everything, not just the gamers that you see, but female developers, casters, all of the infrastructure in the entire ecosystem lacks female representation. So, having said that, hopefully, as we shine a spotlight on more women doing amazing things. For instance, there's a fabulous company here started by one of the co-founders is a female called Boss Bunny Games, and it's fabulous because they're a platform for mobile game developers. But they've been around for quite a long time, so it's wonderful to see how well she's done. And for instance, a country like Saudi, very similar to UAE, where the government is really focused on putting esports and gaming on their national agenda, they have an amazing organization. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I think it's called GCON, and they've been around for like 7 or 8 years, and they are a huge part of the ecosystem that focuses specifically on women who want to be creators, women that are into gaming, anime, and so forth.
How do you balance the need to be true to your own artistic version with the expectations of your readers in the market?
So I have to admit that I was writing or curating the book with my business hat on. So, well, actually, I'm going to dial back from that.
Okay.
I felt the book was relevant to everyone because I wear many different hats. So I am an investor, I am a parent, I sit on a school board, so very highly interested in education and where that relates to esports and gaming, and I'm a business person. So I felt that with all those hats on, that I could curate a book that was for people other than those that already knew a lot about gaming and esports. There's a lot more of us that don't really understand the space, and I felt that that's where there was a need.
Amazing. So thank you so much for coming through today. It has been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much.